Someone keeps texting me, hide and seek? I wish I hadn't ignored it. I received the first message 3 days ago. I was on my break at work, and I got a text notification. It was odd, it was from an unknown number. Normally, I ignored those sorts of messages. Spammers and the like usually showed up with those types of auto texts. But this one was different. It was so strange because no number showed up at all, just the message. Hide and seek. I thought someone might have the wrong number for a friend they were trying to get in touch with to play a game apparently, so I responded, think you have the wrong number, not sure who you are trying to reach, but they are not here. I went about the rest of my workday and was just wrapping things up. When I pulled my phone from my bag, I saw I had another text waiting for me, same number or lack of number. It was just another blank line where a number should display and the message, hide and seek. I was confused and slightly annoyed, so I responded again. Like I said before, I think you have the wrong number. Who is this? Who are you trying to get a hold of to play hide and seek? I waited, staring at the screen for a minute, and I was about to put it away when I saw a response. You. Hide and seek? My patience had reached its limit, and I figured if they would not answer, then I would just block the non-existent number and hope it would work. Despite the lack of a visible number, the option on the message thread still presented itself, so I was relieved when the weird conversation vanished. I got in my car and started to drive home. I got another notification as I got on the road and used my car's text-to-speech to read it to me. It was Mike, my roommate. He was asking me to pick up more beer from the store since he had apparently finished off what we had left. I groaned at the message and the fact that I was always the one to buy it for us. It was getting old, but I needed a drink after the night I had, so I sent him a message back saying, I can this time, but if you are going to keep drinking everything we have, then you better start paying for it. I stopped by a nearby gas station close to our apartment and grabbed a case of Miller and continued home. As soon as I got back in the car, I received another text. I was getting annoyed already since I figured it was Mike complaining about being out of something else. But instead, as the text-to-speech read out the message, I knew it was something else. Seek. Drink. It made sense now, and I immediately called Mike. He answered after several rings and sounded stoned. Hey man, what's up? Did you grab the beer? Yeah, I did. Are you messing with me? How are you sending those messages? When I call you, I can see your number, but not when you sent that weird text. What kind of app are you using? Also, what is the point? I am not home yet, I can't play hide and seek, never mind that I'm not 5 years old. The seek drink thing was a bit of a giveaway for whatever weird game you are playing. There was a brief pause, and he responded, not sure what you mean, man. I didn't send anything like that. Weird, who wants to play hide and seek? Anyway, get home, man, my buzz is fading. He hung up on me, and I was even more confused. If he had not sent the message, who did? I drove home, feeling a little on edge. When I got back inside, Mike greeted me at the door. Of course, by greeted, I mean he took the case of beer and walked to the fridge, removed 2 and sat back down on the couch. Nice to see you too. I mumbled under my breath. I wanted to ask again about the weird message, but I just shrugged and grabbed a drink for myself and lumbered to my room. I was tired, so I decided to call it an early night. When I stepped into my room, my phone buzzed, and I saw another text from no number. Almost. Time. Hide or seek. I was getting creeped out at that point. I did not know how the messages kept getting through after blocking it. I decided to respond again. Stop messaging me, I do not know who this is, and I do not want to play. Leave me alone. I hit send and tried blocking it again. This time, I turned my phone off for good measure. I tried to settle down and just go to sleep. I managed to nod off for a bit, but after a while, I heard a knock at my door. I jolted up and heard the slurring voice of Mike. Hey man, I don't know what the hell, but I think someone is trying to get a hold of you. I just got a trippy message, and it sounded like what you were talking about earlier. Check it out." I rushed to the door and saw Mike looking at his phone in a confused stupor. I grabbed it from him and looked at the message. "Last chance. Hide. Or seek." My heart sank and I felt a wave of panic rising in my chest. I asked Mike, "When did you get this?" He shrugged his shoulders. "A while ago, man. I don't remember exactly. I was not looking at my phone. What's going on?" I stepped back into my room and turned my own phone back on. "Sure enough, I had a missed message." "Okay. You. Hide." I stared at the words in mounting fear. I had no idea what to do, but I felt suddenly exposed. I considered calling the police, but I did not know what I would tell them. Nothing had happened, only a creepy text thread. Yet something felt wrong, like something bad was about to happen. I looked over at Mike, and he looked confused and a bit paranoid as well. Before I could try and explain things, the lights went out. At first, I thought it might be a power outage. Then I heard the slow creaking sound of the front door opening, despite being sure I had locked it when I got home. Terror gripped me, and I knew something was very wrong. I crouched down in the dark and whispered to Mike the only thing I could think to say: "Hide." I crawled on my floor and under my bed. I was about to call 911 when my phone suddenly died as well. It was on one moment and then just lost power, despite having over half a charge left. I put the useless device in my pocket and tried to see if there was anything I could use as a light source. I froze and thought better about moving when I heard a strange shuffling sound. Then heavy footsteps, much heavier than Mike's. I noticed the temperature in the room had dropped suddenly, and it felt like it was freezing. As the footsteps resounded and moved closer, I smelled a fetid tinge in the air as well, like something rotten. I crawled as far back and huddled up as small as I could make myself under the bed and held my breath. I heard my closet door gently shutting and thought it might be Mike hiding in there. Then the heavy footsteps picked up the pace. I suddenly realized if I could hear the door closing, whatever the hell was in here with us could hear it too. I considered calling out to Mike to move, but fear froze my voice. The heavy footsteps were in the room now. Despite my efforts to try and see what stalked us, I could not make anything out. I sat there, silent and immobile, holding my breath and waiting. After several long moments, I thought we might be safe. Then I heard the door to the closet break and shatter. Then Mike screamed, a haunting and nightmare-inducing shriek. Something had found him. The cry of terror was suddenly silenced. I did not hear anything violent, just the scream and then utter silence. I had no idea what the hell had just happened. For a long while I sat there paralyzed with fear, until finally the light came back on. When I summoned the courage to creep out from under the bed and see what had happened, I was shocked when laying on the ground was the shattered remains of my closet door. Despite the ruin of the door, there were no traces of anyone or anything else. Mike had vanished. I slowly called out, louder and more emboldened as I moved into the hall where the light was on again. No one responded, no one else was there. I stumbled through the apartment searching for my roommate, but he was gone. Worse still, I had no idea just where the hell he had gone. No trace of Mike has shown up in the last couple days since it happened. I don't know if anything will. I think he can finally be declared missing, but I don't know if it will do any good. It was impossible, but whatever had broken into our place had found him, and now he was missing. He had lost hide and seek, and that thing, whatever it was, took him away. The entire nightmare is unbelievable, yet even now as I write about my friend's impossible disappearance, I am shocked when I receive another text. Hide and seek. I don't know what to do. I don't know what this is. Maybe I should respond again, a different way this time. Maybe it might help, might keep me safe from whatever or whoever is doing this. Perhaps I can find out. My reply is one word: seek. Story 2. A woman entered our police station at 3:23 a.m. and begged to be arrested. "What crime have you committed?" I asked. "None," she choked out, lungs recovering from her dash into the station. I frowned from behind the counter, readying myself for one of those nights, but it would be like no other night of my life. "Then why should I arrest you, ma'am?" The squirrely woman, catching her breath with hands against her knees, cranked her neck backwards so sharply that the joint popped. "Because," she said, taking a big inhale, "we're all in danger." Then her eyes began to ping frenetically between the station's entrance and me. I leant my elbows a little more deeply into the counter, pushing forwards to take a better peek at the building's automatic doors. There was nothing beyond the glass panes but the black of night and tarmac and silhouetted trees. "Is somebody following you?" I asked. She shook her bobblehead, making her neck pop another couple of times. I winced a little at the woman's frailty. She was slinging her skull around so violently that I started to wonder whether she wanted to launch it free. "Pitch the damn thing for 6. "No, I'm just checking," she whispered, coming closer, "that we're alone. Now, I'm an officer of the law. I've faced men and women with twice and thrice the stature of this meek, frightened woman, so I don't know quite how to explain how or why I felt such terror in that moment. I was chilled by the woman's breath, or the words carried on it. "There are 3 other officers at the station tonight," I croaked, before clearing my throat. "We're not alone. Will those doors count?" she asked, shivering as she eyed the glass entrance again. "Count in what way?" I replied. "I need the smallest indoor space possible," she said. "He told me that I won't be able to exit a room, or a building, or a prison without spoken approval. He said I'd need permission to leave." "Who told you that?" I asked, befuddled. "I don't understand, ma'am." "Explain what's happening. Do I have to do something criminal?" the woman asked, shuddering. "You won't just arrest me?" "That's generally how it works," I replied. "I'm just a little concerned about why you want to be locked away this evening, morning. I assume it has something to do with keeping yourself safe by getting off the street, given that you say you're in danger. However, jail cells aren't hotel rooms, so I don't need to protect myself," she interjected with a hiss, wild eyes locking onto mine. "I need to protect all of you." "What's happening out here, Thatcher?" Officer Bowen asked as she emerged from the office behind me. I tried my damnedest not to gulp, but the unnerving woman was making it difficult for me. "This lady is asking to be arrested, but she says she hasn't committed a crime." Officer Bowen offered me a raised eyebrow, then put her hands on her hips as she looked at the woman. "What's your name, love?" "Tamsin," she said. "Please will one of you lock me up? I need to be locked up. Something bad's about to happen." "What's about to happen, Tamsin?" asked Officer Bowen. "I don't know," the woman blubbered, placing her face in her hands. "It's inside me." Something about those words and her tone of voice instilled me with fear beyond anything words could describe, for it was a fear not of this world. Officer Bowen, on the other hand, seemed unamused. She leant towards my ear and whispered, "I think we need to get this lady some psychiatric help. She might be in danger," I whispered back as Tamsin continued to cry. "She might be," Officer Bowen agreed. "But that's for a healthcare professional to decide, don't you think? Not 2 police officers at 3 o'clock in the morning." I nodded, then spoke louder. "Tamsin, I'm going to leave you with Officer Bowen for a second whilst I make a call in the office." "Okay?" Tamsin shot her head up from her hands as I rose from the swivel chair. "No, please. Just arrest me. There isn't time for any of this." "I need you to relax, Tamsin," Bowen said as I started to walk towards the office. "We're going to help you, okay? We're going to figure out what's happening together." I shut the office door behind me, then made the call. The idea was to avoid potentially upsetting or aggravating the distressed civilian. Bowen and I had no idea how she would react to the arrival of a mental health specialist, so it seemed best to keep that information to ourselves. The office overlooked the main entrance through a horizontal one-way window, so I watched Bowen and Tamsin talk whilst the phone rang. And when I made it through to a specialist, I explained the whole situation to her. She said that Tamsin was in need of a proper health assessment. "I know it's late," I said, "so I'm happy to escort her to the hospital." And then came a voice not quite her own. "No, we'll escort you all." Before I managed to wrap my head around my unease at her sudden shift in vocal timbre, I clocked Tamsin smiling at me from the other side of the one-way window. She shouldn't have been able to see me, but I knew, somehow, that she could. And that filled me with terror. The grin on her face might have a thing to do with it too. Then the lights in the station cut out. And that came with a sharper pang of terror. The pain persisted afterwards, leaving me sitting in the dark, phone screen lighting my face, with an invisible blade lodged stubbornly between two bars of my ribcage. With the phone in my far from rigid hand, I rushed back out into the darkened area behind the counter, but Officer Bowen wasn't there. And when I shone my phone's torch beyond the counter, Tamsin wasn't there either. "Hello?" yelled a voice from down the corridor as fear started to grip me more tightly. A torchlight bounced down a distant corridor, beyond the counter, painting the walls in light, offering only a slight reprieve from the suffocating darkness. Then came Officer Harling into the entryway. "Oh, Thatcher, thank God someone's here," he sighed, shining the torch beam onto me. "Looks like we've had a power cut." "There was a woman," I whispered, leaning against the counter once again, this time for emotional support. I was terrified, and I still wasn't quite sure why. "She's gone now. Bowen's gone too." "Huh?" Harling asked, not catching my drift. "Gone?" "I don't know." "Where's Rodman?" I asked. Harling shrugged. "You're the first person I found. Maybe we should check the fuse box or call." He was interrupted by screaming, the voices of a man and a woman, from deeper within the station. "Bowen," I whispered. "Rodman," he added. I ran out from behind the counter and joined Officer Harling as we ran down a hallway that led into the heart of the station, desperate to locate the cries of our two fellow officers on the late-night shift with us. "This is Officer Harling," he panted as we ran down the corridor. "Requesting backup. Power cut at the station and potential disturbance." "Roger," came a garbled voice from the other end of his radio. We burst through double doors and found ourselves in the station's break room. There, we witnessed a horror I will never forget. Officer Bowen and Officer Rodman were both lying on one of the tables, sawn neatly in half a little above each of their pelvic areas. The light of Harling's torch caught the sheen of the blood, and the table's laminated plastic top, and the whites of the victim's eyes. Their mouths hung open in the screams they had unleashed during those final seconds of life. I hoped, and still hope, their deaths were swift and relatively painless, but their expressions told another horrifying story, one that left me paralyzed in fear, vocal cords unable to expel a sound. Harling, on the other hand, screamed and rushed towards our severed officers, dropping his torch to the floor as he ran, plunging us back into darkness. I'd seen something for a moment at the back of the room. "Harling, pick the torch up," I begged, rummaging in my pocket for my phone. "They're gone." Harling sobbed, no longer the sturdy officer of the law I had known for 5 years, but a weeping mess. "Pick it up now, Harling," I insisted. I was a mess too, a jittery, terrified one. It wasn't sturdiness that kept me awake and alert. Wasn't my duty to the law. I need Harling to pick up his torch because we weren't alone in that room. There came the slaps of flesh against the floor, and I hurriedly activated my phone's torch. Harling was gone. "Hello?" I wheezed feebly, casting the torch around the room. "Whoever's in here, reinforcements are on the way, so." "Roger," crackled a distorted voice from some unseen radio. "We'll escort you all." My stomach dropped as I realized that Harling's call hadn't made it through to anyone. That voice, inhuman and indistinct, did not belong to anyone or anything that wanted to help. It belonged to the voice I'd heard when I called the mental health care professional. There came more slaps from behind me. Only a few. And when I spun my torch around, I expected to find nothing there once again. So I screamed when I saw her. Tamsin. Only she had changed. She showed only the whites of her eyes, rolling them ever deeper into the back of her head, and her mouth was impossible. It spanned the breadth of her face and then some. It had opened beyond human limits. And to add to that hellishness, it revealed not human teeth, but incisors of obscene length, narrow width. Each tip tapered off to the finest point, which dripped with blood. And even the canines and molars to the sides were unthinkably sharp, unthinkably capable of cleaving a creature neatly down its center. "Do you want me to stay, officer?" The thing cooed, as if playing with its food. Then it charged towards me, and I screamed at a volume louder than my lungs were built to accommodate. Screamed as I braced for death. Screamed. No. Time feels a little hazy between that moment, which I expected to be my last, and the moment at which the responding officers found me. They said they'd arrived in 20 minutes, but it may as well have been hours, or perhaps only seconds. But she was gone when they got there and returned power to the building. I was interrogated about the demise of my fellow officers, including the disappearance of Officer Harling, who is a suspect in the case, along with Tamsin, the mystery woman visible on CCTV footage before the blackout. "The discrepancy between your story and the truth is curious," said one interviewer. "What discrepancy?" I asked. "Well, the power to the building was undoubtedly cut," he explained. Yet, the automatic doors were standing open when backup officers arrived at the station. I felt my skin pale. He said I'd need permission to leave. I hope you guys liked this video. If you did, make sure like, comment, share, and subscribe the channel Mark Stories.